Recorded. Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you for that explanation, Kaushal. And I will get to our next question, which will be, how can co-ops benefit from using AI, language learning models, which will be referred to as LLMs, and machine learning, which will be referred to as ML? So how can co-ops benefit from using that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways. What we're seeing really, we're exploring different use cases in-house. Where we were looking at Grantable for grant writing, maybe kind of, assist in that. For member services, it can answer common questions quickly, go through bylaws and refer to eligibility, lots of diverse ways. I mean, I would preface everything that we do with AI is to always have a kind of a human in the middle reviewing these things. Um, Use quite a few analogies to kind of help understand these concepts. But you know, think of AI as like using a hammer. I mean, you wouldn't try to use a hammer with your eyes closed and assume it's gonna do what you want. So um, think other ways that we've used it, staff productivity. Again, a lot with to do with writing, freeing up time, getting ideas, and exploring. One thing I see a lot more now, or recently anyway, within the past year, are these AI assistants joining Teams meetings or Zoom meetings. We have bilingual staff, so a lot of transcription happens and people are able to get real-time translation in French or Spanish and things like that. And that's been super helpful to some of our staff. We've used we've used RAG, as it's called, retrieval augment generation. Basically, that reads your documents. You can have a SharePoint site or collection of information, and it'll parse through that fairly quickly, and you can essentially talk to it. Yeah, some of the ways that we've been using it. I will mention beyond just day-to-day operations, and these are common among many different industries, but some of the other kind of direct industries like ag, for example, um, they're using it as part of their business offering, whether it's through John Deere and they're tracking climate or best times to plant their crops, or credit unions that are triaging risk or member engagement. A variety of different ways. I think it's percolating almost everywhere. Electric co-ops leveraging drones to see where the vegetation's overgrowing on lines, and that really kind of goes beyond just everyday use.
Yeah, it seems like, AI, LLMs, and MLs can be used for the smallest of things, such as someone who may be getting their cooperative, starting from the ground, maybe building that business model, building those emails so that we can get kind of community buy-in for maybe like their local co-op grocery store, but then also to the bigger co-ops such as maybe NRECA or like Dairy Farmers of America, who are looking to use that for climate change or, like you said, vegetation, or even being able to kind of like forecast some things that may be on the horizon. I believe I read last week something about Google released a satellite that was like an AI satellite that was supposed to help with climate change. So, for those who may be just getting into the AI space and learning what that is, really goes to show that there are a variety of ways that you can use it for your co op. And all it takes is just getting started with maybe that one um, product or piece of software and then going from there. So we just talked about the benefits of using it, and there's a variety of benefits. But what do you believe are some of the challenges with using AI, LLMs, and MLs as well?
Yeah, I think a lot of these are coming up. Lots of different tools are percolating, and staff are always requesting different varieties of tools to use, and when to say, okay, well, those are, we don't have guardrails, we don't have protections in place. You know, the genie's out of the bottle, and there's just a flood of tools on the market. So, I mean, I think of ways that we're kind of protecting ourselves is writing policies and upskilling staff and educating them on acceptable use, things we should do and we shouldn't do. Um, every day I'm either asked about Gemini or Claude or Grantable, even Grammarly or Adobe, you name it. Pretty much anything out there has now got some kind of AI embedded in it. Um, so I think, really upskilling our staff on that. Privacy and security is a huge risk. I think that, a lot of us are concerned about these models learning off of our proprietary information, but less commonly known is that, there are headlines that when we've uploaded our documents and things like that, that there is a risk that hackers have stolen those data sets. Not necessarily that these big corporations are using our information to train, but hackers have, even OpenAI has been hacked, and all of our chats or our information that's been uploaded has been taken. So in that sense, I would say, whatever we're using with AI, and especially with staff and co-ops, redact your information. Try to make it obscure. Don't put anything important up there that you wouldn't want to get stolen. And another one is just accuracy and bias. You always need a human as a reviewer to kind of make sure that it is responding accurately. Oftentimes, the last prompt I'll say is provide proof. So it'll find me the source of where it found that information, so I can validate it for myself. So yeah, those are
Yeah,
some.
that's sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just wrapping up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really great idea, is providing proof, because there has been a lot of things in the news talking about the inaccuracies of ChatGPT, the inaccuracies of Gemini, for example, too, because a lot of that information is being scraped off the internet. And there are some sources on the internet, excuse me, there are some sources on the internet that may not provide the most accurate information. So the idea, if there's one takeaway that y'all can have from this too, make sure when you prompt, provide proof of these sources and going from there. And then also to just this, I think, just with the internet itself, cybersecurity is always going to be a risk, whether it's your Gmail account or whether it's your ChatGPT account. So making sure that we have those privacy and data provisions in place so that there's least likely to be a cyber threat. Those are really great points as well. So my last question for you is, do you have any suggestions on AI programs that cooperatives can use?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we started at NCBA kind of exploring AI when it started making headlines, and started seeing some useful things out of it. Start with the tools you already have. A lot of these things already, you get AI for free. All the big names, especially like Gemini, ChatGPT, all those have a free model to it. If you're just exploring it now, you can start there. We have a test group that we're actually creating agents and specialized assistants that have pre-trained instructions, and kind of having them do tasks and exploring that, where I can share my agent with somebody on my team, and then they can use them. And so some pretty creative ways, but I would definitely start with some of the free things. They're already available. Some of the other ways that you could probably, use it is if you privatize it and do some Q&A over like documents and things that, again, redact your information if it's private. So those are, some common ways you could use it. Definitely have some high control as well. So whatever you're using, make sure you have some level of control, so that you're not susceptible to risk. One headline I saw was New York Times sued OpenAI and for plagiarism. So now there's a federal ruling, there's a preservation law, so that anything you upload into these big corporations, it stays there. So in case they get sued, they have to show evidence that what their model said and what the user uploaded are not the same. It's different. So be mindful of that once your data is in there, it stays there. So
Yeah, definitely. And for those who may not know as well, so AI systems require a vast amount of data. They're all coming in, and I'll kick it over to Steve in a bit, so we can talk about that as we have discussion with our with everyone who is here. But they require vast amounts of data for their models to train. So all this data is coming from the internet, which means social media, discussion boards such as Reddit, or a lot of other things that's just kind of in the public domain. And so, to Koshal's point, in a sense, if someone is writing something, if someone is prompting ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini to write something, they're taking the things on the internet to form as if it's something that has been written. So we can get into that a little bit more, but just for some additional context, what Cultural is saying is just making sure that we're mindful of that as well, and just being aware of where the information is coming from. Back to the data and privacy concerns, is making sure you're redacting your information, and also making sure that those sources that they're coming from is accurate as well. So I see a lot of information and a lot of talk happening in the chat. So I'm really excited to kick it over to the rest of our members here who have joined. And I see that Steve said that he wanted to comment. So Steve, go ahead with your comment, and I would love for you to start the discussion with our participants as well, and then also speak to your work with the ICA.
Thank you. I've been concerned about AI. Let me tell you that I have been working for 45 years in the technology environment. I was responsible for helping birth the microcomputer industry from about its toddlerhood on, and I've been involved with technology for a long time. I've seen many of these bright and new shiny ideas come and go. So that's kind of a context from where I'm coming from. My first point is AI is resource intensive. The numbers that I've read so far is that by 2035, 10 years from now, AI is going to consume 20% of the entire world energy budget. I'm still trying to confirm those, and I've not been able to confirm that yet, but I've seen this several different places. I am not primarily a copyright proponent. I'm more a copy far left, but there was massive theft in developing AI of copyrighted materials. Typically, back to the resource point, an LLM query consumes about 74 times the resources as much as a traditional search. Next point, AI hallucinates. I think you maybe have heard this before. If it doesn't have the answer, it'll make one up for you and present it very broad, very concisely and in good language, so you think it knows what it's talking about. But really, in order to accept the answers of an LLM query, you really have to be an expert in what you're asking, an expert in the field that you're asking about, and be able to discern what's hallucination and what's not. There's no provenance on AI answers. There's no record of where the LLM trained on that issue and how it made the decision to include that in the answer. Sixth, AI is making students and all of us stop thinking. My daughter teaches law at New York University, and in the last couple of years, she has noticed the shift in essays that people are writing, and assumes that this is really because it's so pronounced in the last couple of years, that this is the result of ChatGPT and other AI LLMs. Seventh, currently AI is a product of big tech, which is really only interested in making a profit. They're not really interested in really doing anything but that. Eighth, according to the Gartner hype cycle, AI is peaking and we're ready to slide down into the trough of disillusion. So it may seem like there's a lot going on now that pretty soon is going to peter out, especially as AI does not prove to be as profitable as people are claiming. And that's it. I'm sorry to be a naysayer in this, and it's just that I've seen a lot of this come before, and I'm sure their proponents of AI will be able to argue with me about a lot of this. These are just my first kind of impression of AI.
Thank you. I appreciate all those points, and you do speak to kind of like the challenges that is there for AI. Cultural spoke to how we can use it to better our cooperatives and be able to kind of like be ahead of the curve and learn more. But I think that with all new forms of technology or all new shiny things that may come out, there are advantages and disadvantages. So I really appreciate you being able to speak to the disadvantages because there is still a lot of things that we are learning. For example, the energy, the water usage, those are still things that are happening. And because this is moving really fast at such a lightning fast pace, we need to make sure that we are aware of everything that is happening with AI and how it affects all of us as well. So I'm gonna pass it over to Ron because I saw that your hand was raised, and please come off mute and state your comment or your question.
Thanks, Kara. So I'm Ron Garcia Fogarty. I'm with Tilde Language Justice Cooperative. We're based in North Carolina, but we work all over the place. We provide translation, interpreting, and we do trainings on a number of things, language related, language justice, etc. First, I just want to clarify. So translation is the written form. Interpreting is the oral form. So when you're doing real live language work, it's oral, it's interpreting basically. Just wanted to clarify that for the next point. So at Tilde, we've been, and at many language co-ops, we've been negatively impacted by AI in terms of, a lot of our clients moving away from translation work, i.e. the written part, to move it to machine translation, AI generator, et cetera. And it makes sense. I mean, it's accessible, it's hiring people can be a lot more costly. So but there is bias, like people said. AI has bias. It does have, it's not always accurate. So I just want to put in a plug for people to think about that accuracy piece and always having a human-centered language work in the middle. So we're not saying don't use machine translation, but you need to proof it. You need to have a way to make sure that that the language content is really accurate. So that's just something I wanted to mention. Personally, I think I've been using AI a lot in the last 6 months. I'm a fan of it, and I'm also very wary of the environmental costs it has, of the impact on language work, on other kinds of work, et cetera. There's lots of ethical issues that come up to my mind when I use it. So I try not to use it very often, but I find it extremely helpful for a lot of different preparing presentations. Just being a thought partner, being able to ask queries. Questions that have me stumped. Really helps me to kind of think through different things as I'm planning something or figuring out a workshop or whatever. So just wanted to put those two things out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Virginia made two great points. The whole idea of the advantages and disadvantages of AI. It's kind of like, everything in moderation, I think cake is delicious and it's great to eat on, special occasions, but I can't eat cake every day and I especially can't eat it for breakfast. But then, Virginia also points out a good point, and Ron, maybe you could speak to this, and then we'll get to you, Chris, right after this, is Virginia says, one thing I think about language translation, do the models default to he with the pronouns? So Ron, have you noticed that as well? Or what have you noticed in kind of maybe like a little bit to your point with like biases or things that you and your team as humans can point out quickly that maybe a machine can't as
Yeah.
quickly?
Yeah, that's a great question. We at Tilde, the vast majority of our clients are social justice organizations, so a lot of them nonprofits, co-ops, although we also do work with governments, local schools, etc. We do provide a lot of language neutral translations and interpreting, and that's something that AI is not able to do at this point. It might get to that at some point. It's just not a priority. I mean, it's not, the AI defaults to English. It defaults to, Anglo type English, kind of the normative form. So gender neutral, is definitely outside of the mainstream, and it's not something that AI has really tackled at this point. So yeah, so that's something where we do provide, a value added benefit to many of our clients, being able to, have that gender neutral, especially in a language like Spanish, which is a lot more tends a lot more to the masculine than English does.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And Chris, I see you have your hand raised, so go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I was just going to spin off on Steve's point about power consumption. And I'm in the rural development arm of the Association of REC. So they kind of keep me penned up there. So I'm not not the most well-versed on the energy side of things, but data centers are a big topic in North Dakota at the moment. And developers are finding North Dakota to be well suited for that because there's some places of stranded power where renewables and then some of that baseload fossil fuel generation is providing excess power. And so these data center developers find those sites. And then the climate too is well suited for these data centers for their cooling purposes since it's cold a lot of the time. So yeah, power consumption, the need for that excess generation and then transmission to these sites too is also a big issue and need. But there's a data center that went up outside of a community of, I think it was about 400 people. And it's projected to triple the population of that community within 10 plus years, I believe. And they've gone from no cafes to 4 restaurants already. And they're building housing there. So it's really interesting to watch. So if you're interested in getting a better feel for that landscape, Google North Dakota and data center construction, and there's lots of stuff out there.
Yeah, thank you for that. Is there anyone else who has maybe like there's some data centers within their neighborhoods or their communities that are being brought up that are being built? If you want to comment on the chat, go ahead and let us know. But Kaushal, I wanted to jump over to you really quick and kind of get your opinion on the conversation that we've been having and maybe some responses, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I see it from both angles. I am in tech, so I love all these things, but I'm curious about them, but with a cautious lens as well. I mean, I think these are I love that you mentioned the Gartner Hype Cycle, Steve, because I see that, and I see a lot of folks. I see a lot of proposals and things coming through where we can influence AI and tech. In a lot of cases, there is no need for AI. I think AI has become a buzzword, and if you have a genuine conversation with someone that wants to deploy it for a business need, and they may say things like, "We're going to put AI in it," and it's like, "What is AI going to do for you?" AI, and it's like, "What about it?" And not to nerd out too much, but in application development, when we were customizing and doing these kind of things, just throwing the buzzword, put a premium price tag or linear regression and all these other ways of doing things without any of these resource intensive tools, you can still do things the old fashioned way. You can still just use Adobe PDF. You don't need AI in it to consume resources and those kind of things. But on the flip side, I see it as a valuable tool to organize and sum up things, to find unusual patterns, especially in cybersecurity, where there's some abstract behavior that'll pull out an anomaly. Like, Joe doesn't usually log into his computer at 2 a.m, and why is he or just different patterns and things that some of the tools that already do that are doing it a little bit better. But at the end of the day, absolutely, I think that human in the middle is the way to go. You can't take that human element out of it. Otherwise, back to that analogy I had, is just using your hammer with your eyes closed. You probably don't want to do that. So that was my 2 cents.
Yeah, thank you. And so I kind of wanted to shift. We got a few more minutes left, and shift over to like cooperatives and data. Steve, I wanted to come back to you again because I know that you said you were working with ICA about data, co-ops, tech. Do you mind speaking a little bit to that? And then in the chat, put in maybe some additional questions that you may have that we didn't get to, or maybe just some comments about kind of what we've been having, and then we can wrap up on that end too. Steve, you're muted.
Thanks. In February, I believe it was February or April of 2023, a group of us attended a unconference that the Platform Cooperativism Consortium put on, and it was around data and what's going on with data. And a group of us kind of got together and said, hey, we hate the fact that we have to use big tech for data. It's increasingly unsatisfactory for us because they're not paying attention to what user needs are. They're paying attention to what generates a profit. And we need to have our own cooperative digital infrastructure. And so that's what we're trying to do with this manifesto and with this movement, is begin to talk to all of the cooperatives in the world and first figure out what it is. What are you using? What would you need? And then as a tech movement, as a tech co-op movement, begin to produce those tools that are cooperatively owned and probably licensed under peer production licenses or copy far left kinds of licenses, so that the use of these and development of these stays within the co-op community and serves the co-op community and not the big tech. I mean, if you look at any product from big tech these days and you read the fine print in what they use, it's all this free and open source software, but they've taken all of these tools that people have developed on their own time, and they have used that and then inserted some little proprietary bit of code in there that makes it copyrightable. And so we want to get away from that. We want to develop technology that the cooperative ecosystem can use and can use together and grow together.
Thank you. We appreciate that. I see some comments in the chat. Danny, I really like your question. So it says, with many cooperatives increasingly reliant on digital platforms and tools, yet most of these owned by external corporations with misaligned values, is NCBA considering initiatives to support cooperative ownership of essential digital infrastructure, including AI power tools? And so, yes, thank you for your question. NCBA, we are definitely working on making sure that we are at the forefront of learning this, because at the same time, this is moving so fast. Money is being poured into like ChatGPT, Google, Gemini, and all these different things. So we want to make sure that we're definitely giving our members the opportunity to have conversations like this, to really know what AI is about and the challenges and advantages. And then also really bringing a network together and bridging the gap between cooperatives across the country, and really leaning on a P6 model where we are able to give our members the opportunity to receive the education, and also being able to advocate on the Hill too as well, for being able to have ownership of our data, and really making sure that cooperatives are thought of in the new policy and the new laws that are being brought out when it comes to data, AI, tech, and things like that. So because it's so new and it's happening so fast, we're always making sure that we are learning and making sure that we are giving our members the opportunity to know new things, and being able to use this as an opportunity to only make their cooperative stronger as well.
Yeah, maybe I'll just hop in on that real quick here also, so folks are aware. We've been we're working on putting out a member survey for current members, previous members, people thinking about membership. We're working on a survey to get out. We're still figuring out the timing for that this year, but I think we want to incorporate this topic into that survey, and just so folks are aware that yes, NCBA CLUSA has gone through a ton of transition this year, with most of our international development program funding being terminated from, USAID and USDA. And so there's a lot of thinking happening at the organization and with our board on, our strategic pivoting going forward, like what the next few years is going to look like, what we want to focus on, just doubling down on work with our membership and the cooperative community in the US. And I think this is one of those really critical topics that we just have to dig into more and get people rallied around. So not like a straightforward answer to you, Danny, but I'm glad you brought it up, and it's something we're thinking through a lot, and we'll continue to do so. And yeah.
Definitely. Thank you. So it's 1:57, got about 3 minutes left. Is there anyone who wants to come off mute and add any feedback, any comments, or any last questions? Give it a quick second. Okay, Kaushal, is there anything that you would like to say or to wrap up?
No, I mean, I think we're exploring lots of tools and lots of different services and how we can engage with other co-ops, and looking to share as we learn.
Definitely. And there's a lot of information around this. When we send a follow-up email with the recording, there's a lot of really great articles that are out there that gives the opportunity, that gives you the education and the tools and the resources to learn more about cooperatives, data. There's actually a lot of data cooperatives that are out there that are looking to really give cooperatives and also the people themselves the ownership of that data. And maybe because a lot of these organizations, such as, Amazon, Google, Meta, all these other companies, they're really in there for the profit. And so how can we make sure that our data is not just being able to be taken freely for other people's profit that can turn into, higher electricity bills, no water in 10 years, or even copyright issues? And how can we really own it? So really looking forward to sending you all those articles and then you all giving us some feedback. This is a conversation that's going to be continuous. If you want to have another one of these conversations again, please let us know. Virginia, I want to kick it to you. Do you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, just really appreciate everyone joining today, asking questions, pitching in. Everything in the chat has been really, really interesting. And just echoing, yes, this is just the first of many conversations and digging into this. So glad that folks are energized around this and want to learn more about it and figure out as a community how we're gonna tackle this. And just to put a plug in, this is a topic that we will be covering at Impact this year. Lots of different things, but definitely we'll be digging a little bit into AI, data, and democracy through our lightning talks. So just putting a plug in for that. And yeah, thanks everyone.
Yeah. Thank you. We are wrapping up. This is the end of that. Thank you so much for this robust discussion. Thank you, Kaushal. Thank you, Steve, for giving us a lot of the things to think about. Thank you to everyone, and Chris as well, especially from the rural electric perspective. That was really interesting to think about, and the data centers as well. We're officially finished. I really hope to see everyone at Impact this year, October 7th through 9th. If you don't have your tickets, registration is available. And if you are a member, you get $275 off. Don't forget about that. And then, your stories, send us your stories for the video storytelling contest. I don't think I missed anything, but thank you again. We will follow up. And if there's anything else that you want to add, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you all. You all have a great weekend.
Yes. Happy Friday. Happy weekend.
Friday. Bye.
And their birthday, so happy birthdays to the other Leo in here.